Who remembers what happened on the last Orthor Boys episode? Bonus points. I will give everybody a bonus experience point if you can remember what the session number was.
Oh shit!
Wasn't it not 420?
Was it session 69?
It was session 69. Everybody gets free XP.
Easy. Scoreboard.
Wait, hold on. I'm actually in the channel. I can do this. There we go. Alright, well, that was very important. I'm glad that happened.
Yes. But does anybody remember what else happened?
Kilnaz died.
Almost.
Yeah, that did happen.
Well, okay, I guess he probably did die, and then
He
we
totally
undeaded
died.
him.
He died.
He
And then
did.
We undead him, but not undead. We undeaded. The verb, not the noun.
It's a very delicate difference.
What else?
Blood Boy passed out.
Yeah, Blood Boy cast out. But then we encountered Kalki basically in his office, doing the typical villain monologue,
Villain stuff. You know.
evil things.
I'm bad, but blah blah blah. My hand slips, giggity, and we ran away.
Kilnaz warned us about an assassin, which makes a lot more sense when we knew about the other people, the other kids.
Which these characters do not know about. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
Separate character and player knowledge, please.
Yeah.
But we tried our best to save him. Kalki blew up the tower, by the way. Davia?
I think so.
Sounds correct.
But Kalki blew up Davia Tower as we escaped.
Well, she blew up Kelnaz's office,
Which is in
which is at
Davia.
the top of the tower.
Mm-hmm. So we took Kilnaz to Traylon, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Traylon and some child with a blood affinity helped us attempt to save Kilnaz.
Now Kael Velsharan, the first year, used his blood affinity to help Kelnaz clot. And then passed the fuck out. And Traylon was like, "Boy!"
Boy.
Like, you idiot.
Boy. But anyways,
Yeah, and then he was basically like, so you and Kelnaz need to fuck off, right? Like, that's the point of this?
yeah, it's like we need to leave right now. And
No.
instead of
Remember, Houndro got a message.
Houndro got a message, and it was, "Hey, I can help you there. Hey,
You want to bring him
to me.
to me?
Hey, I can help you. Come on,
Oh yeah.
it'll be easy. Just come on, bring him over.
Just sell your soul. Just sign the contract and become a magical girl.
Sell your soul.
Okay.
Magical girl Houndrel.
I like how Greneth has gone from Saber from the Fate series to literally Satan from Madoka Magica.
Cube,
thought
who
you meant
is the
Castor.
devil?
Do you mean Caster, not Saber?
Oh yeah,
Because
Castor.
Garala was Saber.
Gorilla is Saber. Saber.
Saber.
But yeah, so you got that message from Casta, and then what did you do?
Fuck it, let's go.
There was some arguing. I have this in my notes. After some arguing to the tune of, quote, "You got a message from actual necromancer Garala," end quote.
I mean,
Fjallar is all about this plan.
Houndrel.
Is he though?
Actual necromancer Shia LaBeouf.
Like, is he for real though?
I feel like Houndrel is like pseudo into this plan a little bit. He's
Yeah.
curious.
Fjallar feels like he is the voice of reason, being like, hold on, you know that there is an actual person who is an actual necromancer practicing actual necromancy. Like, this isn't a fucking fairy tale, this is real life. And yet somehow their help sounds like a good idea to you.
Oh yeah. They're on speed dial.
But yeah, so you took the elevator up to the 9th tower. What'd you see in there?
Shasana.
Yep, Shasana. And
Greneth.
Greneth. And what
I
did
don't know if we
Greneth
actually
have?
saw Greneth.
You did see Greneth.
We saw Gorala
Because
too.
we saw
right?
Gorala on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gorilla is on one of the operating tables. The other one was empty. And what did Greneth say to you?
I don't think Grant said anything, because I know
No.
Shisana said, well, bring him in then.
Yeah, that's I think
Nah,
where we
we
ended. Up.
we ended with Greneth saying, "You've suffered a terrible fate, haven't you?"
I forgot that bit. I think
I
in my head
forgot.
I sort of, like, wrote that off as not canon.
No, that shit's canon, yo.
This is
'Cause
original
that's-
content.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like if I'm gonna rip things off, I might as well go ham about it.
I mean, I think it's original. What the fuck do I know?
So yeah, that's
Is
where we're. That is
Nehru?
where
Who's Nehru?
Nairu.
Nairu. So that's where we are. That's where we are picking up this session. Is Gorala or not Gorala? Caster has just said, "You've suffered a terrible fate, haven't you?"
Let's use their real names: Castor and Saber,
Yeah, Caster and Saber. It'll be easier that
Grenadine,
way.
and
Isn't grenadine something you put in Pepsi?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope you know, this means I was spending the rest of the session trying to figure out who Shisana is. God help you if it's Shiro.
oh
my
no,
God. No, I did not think that far ahead.
is it Ryder?
But I'm glad that you understand the ways that I intend to troll all of you for eternity.
Ever. It is the punishment for our sins.
That it's one of them.
One of the punishments or one of our sins?
Both.
Yes. So, you've suffered a terrible fate, haven't you?
I just stare, like, yes, sure.
We're really bringing this problem to her.
Houndrel shrugs.
She feigns looking offended.
Actual necromancer.
I'm just carrying Kilnas to the table.
I'll leave you to discuss whatever it is you're on about. She turns over to a table full of tools and begins snapping on a pair of rubber gloves that go up to her armpits.
A clean environment. Professional, professional.
Oh, and Shisana. Alive and well, it seems.
She looks down her nose at you and just goes, humph. Greneth, yell if you need anything. I'll be in my office. Does the dramatic, like, turns quickly so that her robes billow out behind her as she walks away. The Snape turn.
Yes.
You know, she is exactly how I pictured from reading her diary. So I guess I'll go over to the table where Greneth is doing stuff and be like, so, what you gonna do?
She turns back to you. She's like, well, you want him healed, don't you? He's lost a lot of blood. I can tell because it looks like most of it's on you.
I just look over, it's like, yeah, it's not a really good color for me.
It's not. Why don't you lay him on the table?
I go and do so.
Good. Now, she does the shooing motion with her hands. Get out. I work best alone. Don't get in my way. Please don't come back in. I can't guarantee your safety. Lots of sensitive magical fields in here.
I wanted to watch.
She's like, twist my arm, fine. You can watch, but like I said, safety not guaranteed.
Sure. I'll go
You are
to-
correct. Kazna is in the room.
I'll just stand in the corner and just watch, I guess.
You walk over to one of the corners, and she immediately like tisks and makes a face. She's like, not that corner, please.
I go up.
She looks, yeah, that one will work. What are the other two of you doing?
I am Batman perched.
I am as close as possible.
To,
The table, operating table.
okay, Greneth looks at you and is like, back up now, give me some space. Why don't you follow your friend's example?
But he's too far away.
How big is this room, by the way?
It's pretty big, close to 50 feet along its long edge, 20 feet along its short edge. There are lots and lots of Manatech machines in this room, most of which do not have an obvious function. Several of them have been set around the operating area.
Question: is there a Manatech Tesla coil?
Of course there is.
Excellent.
A Manatech Jacob's ladder for no reason other than for show.
What does this do? It looks important. Was there any kind of like antechamber or anything when we came in?
Yes, there is the chamber where the elevator rises up. The elevator does not rise up into a shaft. It settles into the floor in this part of the tower, and it's the center of a larger antechamber type room. There was the door into this room from the antechamber, and then another door on the same level, and then a short flight of stairs going up on the sides, sort of like the grand staircases in the foyers of mansions. How there will be two sets of stairs sweeping up along either side to a landing in the center, like that, but nowhere near as large.
I'm just gonna be standing by the door back out into that chamber.
Okay.
Not leaving just yet, but also not quite content to actually be in this room.
Mm-hmm. Greneth flits around between several different machines, checking gauges, twisting dials, flipping switches. She then wheels this one machine, which makes a sloshing noise, over to the head of the operating table with Kelnaz on it. And she starts pulling tubes that seem to be self-retracting. So you hear the mechanical clicking of like a coil as she pulls these tubes out and starts sticking them into Kelnaz. A couple go into veins on his arms. One clicks out and she bends it and sticks it into one of his nostrils and feeds it in several inches. She's just preparing things, it looks like. You also see her donning goggles and an apron.
I prepare an action to have a case of the vapors.
What?
A case
Don't-
of the plague. Oh yes, the pestilence. We gotta get that out of him.
Is there a fainting couch in this room?
Oh no, there is not.
A shame.
Shame indeed. Greneth seems to finish her preparations, then walks smartly over to the door. She says, "Last chance, in or out?"
I quietly make my exit.
She waves goodbye as she slowly closes the door, and then returns to the operating table, picks up a tool from the nearby table, and flips a switch, and a saw blade on it whirs to life. And she starts cutting Kelnaz's chest open straight through his clothes.
I do not know about medicine.
Okay, neither does she.
You see that the tubes that she stuck into him, clearly this is like a blood transfusion that is one of the functions that this machine is performing. It's also got some kind of readout on a screen that you, like, out of character, you would write it's vital signs.
Mm-hmm.
In character, Kazna definitely does not know how hospitals work.
It's cherry slushy machine.
I mean, it's pretty obviously pumping blood into him.
Cherry slushy.
Okay, sure.
I don't know if Kazna would know what either of those things is. Cherry or slushy.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I don't think I found that on the street somewhere.
Question,
Yeah, no.
Nate. I
What?
do have 5 dots in Manatech. Have I ever seen any sort of technology like this before?
No.
Neat.
The closest thing that you have probably seen is experimental Manatech at the Beldrobayan, in the Beldrobayan stalactites that could display like somebody's pulse. Like that's considered pretty cutting edge for you guys. Greneth's tech is on a whole nother fucking level. Roll wisdom plus perception. Actually, no, wisdom plus mana tech.
4 successes.
Looking around, you recognize that some of this is reclaimed and modified Uka tech. Not many of the machines that she has set up to use on Kelnaz, but several of the machines further back in the room definitely have the Uka tech swirls to them,
Okay.
with additions obviously made after the fact by Greneth.
Neat.
You see that Greneth has now cut her way through Kelnaz's ribs and is using forceps to pull the skin and bone open. She's using a scalpel to cut away the pericardium, or whatever that part is called, and has exposed Kelnaz's chest cavity. And you don't know what the inside of somebody's chest is supposed to look like, but you would guess, just based on, common knowledge, that it probably is not supposed to look like spaghetti.
Cherry slushy.
Cherry slushy.
Somebody touch his spaghetti.
Somebody touch all of his spaghetti. So much spaghetti. And yeah, it does not look terribly good. Greneth starts immediately working on the wound where Kalki shoved her arms up into him and cuts away more of the clothing down almost to his crotch. And she is intensely focused on this task, and her hands are working quickly and expertly. It's clear that she has had a lot of practice doing this kind of stuff. And you also notice that she's started casting some kind of magic. Based on context, probably blood or bone or flesh crafting, something to do with the surgery she's doing to Kelnaz. She runs around the table and she clicks on a couple of the other machines, and you feel the crackling of a magical charge in the air, and the light in the room, which was a pretty pale white, gets a slight blue-green tinge in the shadows. I need, let's see who I need.
It's Kazna, everyone.
Well,
It's never
Well,
Kazna.
no survivors.
Hayden, even or odd?
Oh yeah. Odd.
Okay, yeah, it is Kazna. Kazna
Oh,
needs
boy.
to roll willpower for me.
Wait, anything but that. Is it current willpower or maximum willpower?
Current. It's
Oh
always
boy.
current willpower.
Oh boy.
Hey, Lau.
Hey,
Hey.
Lamel.
Lamel. 1. Wow.
Cool. How much aura do you have currently?
I am currently at 5.
5? Okay.
Yeah.
So I need you to take 2 damage. A spark of stray magical energy arcs out from a point on the wall to an unactivated machine near where you are standing, and you are in the way.
Oh.
It feels like really, really extreme static electricity.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
interesting.
Greneth does not look up from her work. She is now very, very intensely focused on what she is doing, and you can half hear her over the sound of the machines working, that she is muttering something to herself.
Can I hear anything that she's muttering?
I mean, roll wisdom plus perception, diff 10.
I'm not going to try. I'm probably far enough away that I can't hear.
That's fair.
All the way up there on the ceiling.
I am Batman.
Oh, nice. Kazna, you hear her saying stuff like maintaining stable pulse and rhythm, keeping blood flow at a maximum of 4 liters per hour. There's way too much damage to the internals. I need to isolate what can be salvaged and cut off that which needs to be gotten rid of. There's so much contamination inside of here. I need, and she's just like talking herself through the process of what she's doing, telling herself reminders. She throws a lot of numbers in there that don't make a whole lot of sense to you. Phrases like mark at 305, drain at 664, and is constantly looking back and forth between the machines and Kelmaz, a different machine back to Kelmaz. She's switched from between 4 different kinds of scalpel already and has started removing pieces of tissue from Kelmaz's chest cavity and bowels.
Okay.
So we're going to switch over to Fionlar real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Fionlar, there is no fainting couch to be seen.
Well then, this is an outrage. I guess I'll just stay conscious. Like a peasant.
Go find some leeches to draw your blood. That'll help.
I think you're supposed to like pace back and forth, and then one of us will rush towards you and say like it's a boy or girl or something.
It's a girl. Wait, what? The surgery was very intensive. But, yeah. I'm guessing there's not really any external stimulus happening out in the antechamber. But you said there are a couple other doors.
Correct.
Are any of them, are 2 others?
2 other doors. One on this same level, one you got to go up the not very ostentatious at all stairs to get to.
Okay. Are either of them marked in any way to maybe have any hint as to what they might lead to?
The one at the top of the stairs is a stone door. The one at the bottom is another wooden door.
I'm gonna go try the wooden door, the lower door, and just
Okay.
see if it opens, and if so, into what.
You try the handle and it is locked. You hear Shasana on the other side say, "What is it?"
I'm very busy. Go away.
I'm just respond back with, Greta's procedures are nauseating. I'm indulging a bit of curiosity while I wait for her to finish.
There's a pause, and then you hear the latch or the door lock turn, and then the door opens. Shasana looks down at you as if finally viewing you for the first time. Says, "You're one of Negafanai's runts, aren't you?"
Yes, I suppose I am.
She leans down, getting more on eye level with you. She's like 1.5 feet taller than you.
How is she in height compared to Kamina?
She's not quite as tall as Kamina, but like female drow are typically taller than males anyway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and she's especially tall, so kind of towers over me.
Mm-hmm. She gets down to more on your eye level. Says, "Greneth seems to know who you 3 are, and that concerns me. But I think it probably shouldn't. It offends me that it should. If you want something to distract you, then I'll distract you with some questions. Come in."
Very well.
You enter into it's an office space that is obviously also a bedroom. It's humble quarters, much less well furnished than you were expecting. There is a simple stone desk, a padded wooden chair, a single bookshelf that stretches from the floor to the ceiling, and a simple bed with an old rumpled mattress, a single blanket, and a single pillow. There are scant decorations in here, just a planter tray with some mosses growing, a couple of crystalline manolites, and a quill and inkwell and other writing tools on the desk. You see that Shasana had out a journal that she was writing in, or some other kind of book. She gestures towards the bed, says, "Have a seat if you'd like."
Question. Did Fionlar or any of the other Deuterags ever see Shasana's journal?
I don't think so.
Now that I think about it, I forgot about that. That they never saw it.
Yep.
Alrighty.
But yeah, I will go have a seat on the bed. Comment. It's very rustic.
She does not address the comment, simply having a seat, turning the chair towards you, bringing the book onto her lap, tapping the quill in the inkwell, then tapping off the excess on the side. She turns to you and says, "So, where did you see Greneth first?"
On the surface, I believe it was in the vicinity of the home establishment of Nagyased. Although we did not encounter Greneth first, we encountered Gerala.
I see.
We met her on the road as we were traveling and traveled with her for a time. There were strange events, Halms rising from the dead in what we later found out was Greneth's necromancy, or a side effect thereof.
I want you to roll spirit plus insight.
Hey, this is gonna be a thing.
Hey, Anne. It was Anne.
She found that comment funny, but tried not to show it.
Which comment?
It's the comment about, we realized it was Greneth's sorcery, or Greneth's necromancy.
Or some byproduct thereof.
Yes.
Gerala seemed to take particular exception to this state of events, and rather led us to Greneth in an effort to stop her.
And what was your original purpose in traveling to Nagyased? Surely it wasn't to chase down rumors of undead Halms.
No, something not quite as absurd.
Oh?
One of the others that you saw, the Drausu Kazna, he was cursed. We had it on advisement from one of the Kjorl Solinern seers that the source of his curse and the way to break it.
Which one?
Which seer?
Yes, which one?
Yaquise.
She finally writes something down. It's one word.
But yes, she advised us to go to a Halm kingdom on the far east side of the Mist Sea, where supposedly this curse originated. We were en route to seek out the truth of that matter when we encountered Greneth and Gerala.
Not many drow of Chelel Susaloth would believe in curses these days, and that you traveled all the way to the surface world. Either you're very trusting, or your friend's condition was very severe. Which
I know
one?
which one. I know which one.
More the latter. He demonstrated some extremely unusual and alarming tendencies. It was something about his sorcery, something about his magic was cursed. It manifested chaotically and explosively. He is among the most powerful sorcerers I've ever encountered, but he is entirely untrained.
She laughs out loud when you say the most powerful.
Is it among the most? I'm still very hesitant to compliment him.
She stifles the laughter and goes back to listening.
Yes, I am aware that what I consider, or at least used to consider, formidable sorcery is apparently a mere shadow of what real magic is.
I don't need your self-flagellations. Just tell me the rest of the story.
Well, we sought the root of his curse, and it seemed that he was somehow connected to... I still don't entirely understand what it was. Some sort of gray fire corruption from outside of this world.
Put a hole in the moon.
There was some sort of rock that fell from the heavens, and a piece of it bearing this corruption was tied to him and his bloodline in ways that we never entirely figured out, but it had twisted the Halm Kingdom where it landed with its strange magics, and when we got there and confronted the strange crown they had made from this stone, Kazna was able to destroy it, breaking the curse and undoing the, again, strange, destructive gray fire. Not. That is definitely the simple version of the tale. There were other misadventures along the way. One of the moons is a little more scarred than it used to be.
She raises an eyebrow. And did you have a hand in that?
Kazna did, unintentionally.
My best friend blew up the moon.
At the height of his curse, he was manifesting the gray fire, not always intentionally.
And struck a moon with it.
Nerdia, to be specific.
She writes down another word. How long ago was this? You can just say, I tell her.
I tell her, approximately. There were...
She writes that down.
It's a little hard to be certain. Our sense of time was a little dilated at points.
She raises an eyebrow and says, sense of time dilated. That's not a verb that I hear many drow using when talking about time.
Wibbly wobbly.
Well, most commonly for our purposes, Houndrel has been known to manipulate time for his purposes. We also spent a somewhat indeterminate period near the gates of hell.
So when you started saying that Houndrel manipulates time, you noticed a certain relaxation in her posture, as if she started sitting back in her chair a little bit. Then you said gates of hell, and she shot straight up, her book falling with a clatter on the floor. Her eyes are intense and searching as she stares at you.
Tell her about how he met Sharis. I bet you she'd love that. Knowing her diary.
She's standing there, tensed, not saying anything, not betraying any emotion with her expression. But go ahead and roll insight plus, I don't know, do you have composure dots?
I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I fail this roll.
Nah, go ahead and roll it. It's diff 6. Like,
Composure plus insight, diff 6.
or spirit, whichever you've got more of.
I have significantly more spirit.
Actually, do you have more in socialize?
Significantly.
Roll spirit plus socialize.
Okay.
Daniel has 1 die for spirit plus or composure plus insight.
Well, I might still fail. Alright, net 0. I don't botch.
You don't botch, but it's still pretty obvious. She's very on edge at the moment. And it's like she's waiting for you to to say something else.
To clarify, we were trying to hunt and suppress some monsters that were coming out of what was known as the Sybil Pits. And at the deepest part of the cave, we found what appeared to be two passages. One presumably into hell, the other into Elysium.
She does not relax, but she slowly opens her mouth to say, and what came out?
There was... The only thing we know for certain crawled out of that pit was... I'm not sure what to call it. A spirit of some sort, perhaps? She had a body, though.
Again, Shasana's mouth slowly twists into forming the word on her lips. She
at least used to be a light elf. Oh, what was her name? Zepha?
You see her relax and sit back down on her chair. She breathes in deeply and then back out, clearly trying to calm her nerves. A light elf. It doesn't matter, I'm sure.
She spoke of Tantala.
She immediately snaps the quill in her hand, turns to you, is lunging out of her chair. Before you can blink, her hands are pinning your shoulders to the back of the bed. Tantala?
Shar's ancestors and glories! Preserve me! Oh god, what's happening?
Speak, boy! Do not lie to me. What was the name you just spoke?
Tantala, the Whoa.
Before you can form another word, you feel the vice-like grip of her hand around your jaw, clamping your mouth shut. You feel her wrench your head upwards. She brings your face close to hers so that your noses are almost touching. She's looking into your eyes.
Whimper.
There's a pause, and then you feel her grip slack. She stands up straight and takes a step back from you, breathing another sigh of relief. Not today, then. She turns away from you, picks up her book, retrieves a new quill from a drawer and inks it, begins scribbling furiously in her journal.
Meep.
Groceries. Milk. Eggs.
Cereal.
And now we're transitioning
Evil.
back to the operating theater, where things have gotten buck fucking wild.
Kazna, you're naked. What?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving it all
The-
she's got.
I'm
There
giving it all
are-
she's got.
Yeah, kind of. There's like that static mana electricity stuff is arcing everywhere. The Tesla coil is going absolutely insane.
Why is that even in here?
Well, it's
More
obviously
drama.
important. It's obviously important because Castor has brought it over, and the arcs from it are not just inside of the Tesla coil. That static seems to be coalescing on it, arcing off of it and it's onto her, onto Kelnaz, onto the equipment. Her hair is standing straight up on end, and the mumbling has turned into ranting.
I have taken out some of the spider silk in my blanket because I know a little bit about how it can conduct electricity. So I'm trying to. Have you seen those people who wear like those steel outfits near a Tesla coil?
No,
So
I'm guessing it looks really cool.
what is basically chainmail that you wear, and it makes you immune to a Tesla coil.
Okay.
Because the way it works is it just makes sure the electricity doesn't go through your skin.
Okay.
And so I've taken all the spider silk and just like sort of cocooned myself in it.
Cool. Kazna,
Well,
I'm gonna need
there's
you to
a
roll.
really easy way to protect myself
Oh no.
What is it?
by casting lightning.
Are you for real?
Well, I mean, it's not. Well, I guess a lightning shield would work, but as long as I successfully cast lightning, my chaos cloak will activate, and I'm golden.
Oh, so I'm using the words like electricity and stuff. This is not lightning.
Lightning.
This is just
Okay.
mana.
Mm-hmm. That's what I figured. Hence the spider silk thing.
Question about mana.
Yeah.
So originally on my elements table of like my random cast,
Yep.
mana was a selection.
Uh-huh.
Is it still an option I have to cast pure mana?
Kinda.
I mean, you have mana arts now.
Yeah, it's a mana arts roll instead of an affinity roll.
I just want to double check that so I wouldn't say like I want to cast instead of lightning. I would say mana.
Yeah.
So I would not do that anymore.
You would say something like, I want to cast a mana shield, or I want to cast mana bolt,
Okay,
because those are like specific applications.
right, but mana's not an element, I guess.
Mana's not exactly an element, no.
Okay,
So your cloak cannot be mana colored.
yeah, I wanted to double check that because I had a list of the elements that I still needed to learn, and that was the last one. But now I don't need it, so now I got all my. Okay,
Cool.
we good.
I need you to roll willpower again.
Okay,
You too, Houndrel.
Oh, this is not going to be good for me.
well, I mean, at least you have willpower, maybe.
I have Anne willpower.
Kazna, take 5 damage. Houndrel takes 7. No, wait. Houndrel also take 5.
Woof.
Casta is in a frenzy of activity. She is clearly doing a lot of different kinds of magic right now, and you can't tell which things are which. You could try a spellcraft plus intelligence roll to figure out some of what's going on, but it's going to be difficulty 8 just to be able to separate out any useful information.
Well, I'll try anyways. 2 successes.
So Houndrel, you can tell that she's definitely still doing like blood, bone, and flesh crafty type sorcery, but she's also clearly using this mana generated by these machines or by the room or something. You're not entirely certain where all of this is coming from, to supercharge herself. And she's also channeling some of that energy into Kelna. She's on top of that, like all of what I just said is stuff that both of you realize. Houndrel, you specifically realize that she is using light sorcery on herself to make artificial temporary appendages or shelves or forceps that she only needs for like a moment, but instead of like using the time to reach over, grab a different scalpel, come back, bring her hand back to Kelnaz's body, make an incision, put that scalpel down, get a forceps, open the incision. She is doing light sorcery to do all of that in one step and in one motion. She has gotten thread, this very thin filament, and has sewn parts of Kelnaz back together. She's still got his chest cavity open right now. The ranting that is coming out of her mouth is now nigh incomprehensible because of how jargon heavy it is.
I've been in these meetings before.
It's a lot of numbers and 3-letter acronyms, yeah. But I want you to imagine that everybody in this meeting was on PCP.
And cocaine?
And cocaine, yeah, like just...
Again, I'm pretty sure I've been in this meeting before.
Okay. Didn't think that Google execs were going to be tweaking that hard, but...
All execs are tweaking that hard, Nate. That's their secret.
Okay. So, yeah. Do either of you do anything?
Other than watch? Well, I want to know why we're making willpower checks, just to be in the room.
Yeah, you're making willpower checks because of all of the, like, static mana that's being flung around is occasionally, like, hitting you guys.
Mm-hmm. I want to know how she's fine.
You already rolled the spellcraft check. I told you what you know.
Okay.
Intense necromancy.
We're going to switch back to Fionlar then.
Okay.
How would
Okay,
you
so-
define the power of necromancy and the Triforce of Wisdom.
So, Fionlar, Shisana's back is now turned to you. You are still on the bed.
Contemplating the vapors again.
It's not exactly a fainting couch.
But desperate times. Deep breath. What do you mean, not today?
She finishes whatever thought she's writing down, puts her hands flat on the desk, does not turn to face you, takes a deep breath and says, I mean that today isn't the day that one of her agents comes to assassinate me.
She would send agents after you personally. Oh no.
Yes, she would. Young child, you do not know what dangers you have stumbled into.
I thought I had some idea, but it sounds like they are in fact even worse.
She rounds on you, anger filling her face again. Yes, worse. Much, much worse. Worse than anything you could possibly fathom. Tell me, boy, what is the absolute worst case scenario for your life right now? What could be the most horrible thing you could imagine happening to you personally? The Ilhardro Empire collapsing? The lot of your family turned into common peasants, made to eat dirt and shit for the rest of their lives under the boots of the people they've been oppressing? Or is it something more personal?
Demons overcoming all of Tellus and the 8 remaining moons and destroying all of existence as we know it. 1,000-yard stare.
She sets her jaw in a hard line. You can practically hear her grinding her molars together. You're close, she says. You're close, but not quite there. She turns back and sits down, puts her elbows on the table and her head in her hand. What's your name, boy?
Fionlar. Fionlar Valil Hardro.
Well, Fionn Larvel Ilhardro, tell me, do you know what demons are?
Not entirely. I know of them, but their nature is confusing.
Sharis preserve us from the foolishness of these times. Tell me, what else did you see at the gates to Elysium and Hell? Did you see the souls of our people?
I did.
How many
Some of
were
them.
there? Too many to count? Or was it just a trickle?
There were several of them, many, some of them different sizes of different brightness.
And you saw them being sucked down into that pit, didn't you?
I did.
You've no doubt learned in your classes that demons come from nether planes, that those nether planes can only be reached through nether portals, which must be opened by fey hands, specifically ours, as no other species on Tellus has the secrets for how to conjure the nether into our... No doubt you've been told that demons are mindless creatures, ripped from the environment of their own world of existence, and in ours they hunger endlessly for mana, that this makes them dangerous foes and potent weapons.
I nod.
She turns back to look at you. There's more to it than that. Demons don't come from some other world made by the goddesses for them and them alone. Our nether portals do not tap into another plane of existence. We are poking holes in a great... She gestures with her hands. Think of a vase or a wineskin like the commoners use.
I frown slightly. Ever so slightly.
When we open nether portals, we are poking holes into this great wineskin. And out comes the wine. Demons. But that wineskin was made by elven hand. It was crafted to hold the wine that it contains. And when we pick at the stitches, we can catch a few drops here and there. But the gate that you saw, that pit in the earth, that was the mouth of the wineskin. That is where you would put your lips if you wished to sup deeply.
Shudder.
She looks away, clearly going through some sort of internal struggle. Says, and you saw what was going in. What goes in comes back out. The demons that you know are the souls of dead elves, trapped and tormented until they become those things. Mindless hunger, given will and direction through the dregs of a person that it used to be.
Swallow hard. That's horrifying.
It is Tantala's fault. It is her doing, and she still lives in that place. She was the first enchantress, alive thousands of years before even the most ancient of records that we have. She was the first to imbue mundane items with magical powers. She was what we might call the first summoner. She killed hundreds and bound their souls in her service, what we would now know as traditional summon. She was also the first to make foci. These two are the product of fey souls. Every focus is a dead elf bound into a crystal so that another might use their sorcery for their own ends. But Tantala was far worse than any of those. She was the first Velnari. She made the wineskin, the pocket, the space outside of Tellus, but connected to it, where she banished and stored the souls of her ghost slave warriors. A long time ago, she was known as the Mother of Demons, and a long time ago, she found the secret of separating one's aura, one's soul, from one's body. She used it to possess others. Then she used it to enter into her own nether realm, and through some act of magic that I can only wonder at, the mechanisms behind, grafted her soul onto Elysium's gate and even to this day lays claim to those souls weak to resist her maw. But I have a theory of how she did this. Suddenly, Shisana's eyes are fierce, as she locks her gaze with yours. But it remains to be seen whether you are worthy to hear this.
Oh?
Yes, I'm not done with my questions yet. Tell me, if you've already seen the world consumed in the Nether, what do you intend to do about it? Did you and your friends have a plan before you came to the Ninth Tower?
Of sort.
We do plans?
We technically have an plan. Well, an idea.
The plan, such as it is, has been to seek out, well, I suppose it's twofold. The first part is to seek out the power of the Nine Glories, see where they may be hidden or dormant. We found a few of them and have reason to believe that their powers combined might be able to help in some capacity. We are also hoping to be able to leverage the power of the Triskelion, if such a thing can be obtained.
She smiles. Well, worthy or not, you've already got half of the theory with you. I think that Tantala used the Triskelion a long time ago. That is how she's able to lay claim to the souls of dead elves. You see, the natural cycle on Tellus is that our souls leave our bodies at death and journey to Elysium, where they remain until they have been processed sufficiently, until they forget their previous lives. Then, their mana is diffused back into Tellus, but with Tantala claiming many souls for her nether realms, turning them into demons, she has slowly been siphoning off the very lifeblood of this planet, the magic that sustains us. This is what you must understand, Fiamlar Val Ilhar. All of the Ilharises of all of the major clans that have ever existed in Chelal Susaloth, in Nukra, in Miminiad, Feld, all of them hinge their hopes on the surface world becoming habitable again. But it will never happen. The Cataclysm claimed too many elven. There isn't enough mana to replenish the world. Tantala has already won, unless somebody else can reach the Triskelion before she does again. Or should I say, before her agents do. Tantala herself can't leave her nether realms, not physically anyway. My former student, Snatia Rune Velsharan, is Tantala's agent on Tellus physically.
Why does that not surprise me?
Because you've been paying attention, clearly. She wasn't always like that, but she gets a wistful look on her face. But she was too greedy for power. It's as simple and trite as that. Tantala's whisperings seduced Snatia Rune, and now Snatia's body moves at commands not her own. She shakes her head. So, tell me, Fiamlar, how close are you to gaining the Triskelion?
So is that what she's doing in the tower, I guess, then?
From what I can tell, about 1/3.
Then you know where and when the portal will open? She sounds like hopeful at this point.
Not yet, but we have an idea how to search for it.
She laughs softly to herself. Then you've gotten further than we've been able to in our most recent attempt. She stands up and makes for the door, motions with her hand for you to follow her.
I do.
And let's go back to the operating theater.
Yeah.
The lightning and shit has died down a bit, but I'm going to need y'all to roll willpower again.
If I spend a willpower, can I avoid the roll?
Yes.
Assuming that this is the last one, I hope.
If you spend the willpower, you will take 1 damage.
That is 2 successes. Oh, and I guess I will. 3 successes.
Okay, Kazna, you don't take any damage.
I am lightly singed.
You can roll that there spellcraft again.
I don't have a willpower to spend with it.
Well, you still got 3 successes. Is Kazna also rolling spellcraft? Cool. So,
Was it diff 8 still? Well, it doesn't matter for me, I guess.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. So that's just 1.
So, the operation has slowed down some, and she is closed Kelnaz's ribcage back up. You see that the sparks and ambient mana have died down somewhat. She's flipped switches on several machines, turned dials down. There's the lingering scent of ozone in the air, and you can see that her brow is sweaty, and she's gone back from ranting to muttering. She's sewing up the incisions around his rib cage now, and cleans up the blood, depositing the cloths that she uses in a bin to the side. One thing that you noticed, Houndrel, is that none of those arcs of static mana hit Saber laying on the other table. They all kind of bent around her. Also, she looks positively desiccated. I told you that last session, but I want to remind you. She's all skin and bones. She looks elderly.
Well, I'm still gonna wait until it's basically completely over before I come down.
Okay. Caster finishes her procedure and finishes cleaning. The last thing that she does is she takes out a sheet of a strange-looking flexible material and drapes it over Kelnaz like a blanket. You notice that she drapes it over his whole body, including covering his face. The tubes from several of the machines are still stuck in him, and the display is still puttering along at a regular rhythm.
So I know he hasn't flatlined yet.
Yeah, he hasn't flatlined. She removes her goggles, pulls down her face mask, and takes a deep sigh, leans up against a table, or leans up against a wall, opens her eyes, and sees the two of you and is like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot that I had an audience. Are you two all right, dearies?"
Lightly singed. I come down, offer her, I guess, a handkerchief.
She looks at the handkerchief, looks back up at you, looks at the handkerchief, is like, "Is that sterile, dearie?"
Probably not.
Okay. She just takes her back off of the wall and walks away from you.
Okay, I put the handkerchief away.
Back to Fionlar. Shasana leads you out of that room and up the not very ostentatious stairs to the stone door. There's a weird sort of combination lock built into the door that she manipulates with both of her hands. Once she does, the door slides apart. She gestures for you to follow her into the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
This is a much more spacious library that's 2 stories high on its own, stretches back into the back of the tower, and is full of books upon books upon books upon books. All the way at the back of the library, set above and between 2 of the biggest shelves, is a crystalline statue in the shape of a non-agonal, 9-sided prism. And inside, there's a green light issuing forth from the crystal, illuminating the positively divine countenance of an elven woman
Oh boy.
suspended inside of the crystal. As Shasana is leading you along the rows of books back towards this statue, she asks you, "Do you know who that is?"
Han Strollo.
Damn it.
I hate you.
Hayden, I love you.
Hayden, how are you?
I was waiting. I was like, oh, I know exactly what to say. I know what he's going to ask.
He was ready.
Wow.
Terrible.
Terrible. Just the way we like it.
Is that the Empress?
Shasana says, "Not exactly. That's Sharis.
That's Sharis.
Her body, anyway.
Her physical form.
Her soul's been gone for over 1,000 years now."
Okay.
As you approach, you see that there is another such crystalline chamber thing at the feet of Charis's crystal. This one has a much more familiar person inside of it. This one is the Empress.
It's strange seeing the resemblance in person.
I imagine it would be. I've been keeping these here, just in case, you know?
Preserving the bodies.
She nods. But at this point, there's not much purpose to doing so. With Tantala already moving, we've got precious little time left. And after 1,000 years, I don't know if Charis will ever return to us. This is the last thing I have to say to tell you. She looks distracted for a moment, says, I shouldn't be so conclusive. This might be the most important thing that I have to tell you. The Triskelion is real. I know because I helped Charis get to it. She went through the portal, not I. And I have no idea what transpired on the other side. But a few hours later, her body returned. Her soul was absent. I've been using the power of Furor's Emerald to preserve her body, and now the body of Diva Ratrika. There's very little chance that either of them will see life again. But I thought that she would come back for us.
If it's any comfort, I have first-hand evidence that Charis is still in Elysium.
She turns to you slowly. I would hear this evidence.
When we reached the point where the pit into Hades and the passageway into Elysium met, when we fought the demon that crawled its way back up out of the pit, I mentioned that Kazna's powers were powerful but erratic. He called out to Charis, and I believe it was her hand or a manifestation of her will that came forth from Elysium to take Zephyr back with her.
She nods towards the crystal. Well, the actuality of her hand is right there. Look closely. Tell me, is it the same as what you saw?
I go to take a closer look. Say, would I be able to tell?
Up to you, Daniel. What do you think Fionlar would see whenever he looks at the actual hand of Charis and compares it to his own memory? This isn't a question with a definitive answer.
It might be. I believe that it is. After the things I've seen, I can't say with absolute confidence, but I believe it is.
Cautious but sincere, Shisana replies. She reaches up and touches her palm to the crystal, which ripples under her fingers. The light slowly descends, illuminating Charis's face, sharp features of her regal visage, the gentle waves of her hair descend slowly till you can see the jewel itself, the shining emerald, just under the surface where Shisana's hand is. She slowly pulls her hand away, and the jewel floats out of the crystal, and the light goes out. She's standing there holding Furor's emerald in her silent and contemplative. Then she turns to you, says, I feel that you should kneel, Fionlar.
I will. I kneel.
Fionlar, I am bestowing on you the greatest gift that I can give to an elf. I am too old. If I were to venture to the surface world, I would desiccate in a month. My years are numbered, and this cave is a prison to me as sure as this tower is. Just like it is for every Duck Alpha remaining. Just like it is for every old elf. Just like it will be for us and for all of our children, till our lines dwindle, and until there is no more man on the planet, unless you and your companions can reach the Triskelion. Do you swear on the goddess before you, on all the glories, on the goddesses who made this world, and on this emerald, that you will make this thing happen? That you will salvage the future of your race? Do you have the courage in you to promise this to me?
I swear it. I will do whatever must be done to overcome the calamity that's coming.
Then rise Fionlar, Val Ilhardro, and she offers out the emerald.
I will reach out and take it.
Write that shit down in your inventory.
Psych. That's the wrong number.
Too slow. Damn it, every time.
Shisana says to you, "It's done then. I'm sure that Tantala's assassins will come and find me soon. But they won't find that emerald with me. Know this, she is searching for the Triskelion not just out of desire, but out of fear. It holds the power of the goddesses. It is quite possibly the only thing on Tellus that can resist her. If she holds even one of the jewels, then she is won. You must find the third, and then discover the portal. If you can convince Greneth to give you the diagram, you will be yet another step closer. But I fear that her mind is slipping away from her. It's possible she doesn't remember. It's also possible that she will ask you to do terrible things in order to gain her knowledge. There are other paths for finding it. She delved the ruins on the surface world. Perhaps you could follow in her footsteps. I leave it in your hands. As I said, you've already come further than we were able to in our most recent attempt. I suspect that the only reason we reached the Triskelion the first time was because Sharis was with us.
And that was the truth of how Sharis was able to save us 1,000 years ago.
She shakes her head. I wasn't at the Triskelion with her. I saw her to the portal, but no further. I could not have survived the journey, I think. In any case, she went alone. And then, just like that, all of the demons were gone, as if they had never been there. The nether portals were all closed, and Sharis's lifeless body, she looks at the crystal, spat out of the portal.
Another mystery to add to the list then. Hopefully we figure it out when the time comes.
How did she know we already had the ruby?
She doesn't.
Oh, you mentioned in her speech you will find the third gem.
I heavily implied we already had one.
Oh.
I didn't say it explicitly, but when she asked how close we are, I said, about 1 out of 3.
Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't know that you have the ruby. She knows you've got another gem.
Yeah, and then she knows we have the emerald because she just gave it to us. You mentioned that Greneth knew the diagram. Which diagram is that?
The diagram for the portal to the Grand Triskelion. It is something like another wineskin. It's another space outside of Tellus. And to enter it, you need to know the portal to draw. It's like another portal. I only saw it for a moment before it opened, but it must be drawn at the right time, at the right place, in the right pattern, and with the 3 jewels of the goddesses in order to open.
Think I understand then. Hopefully we can get her to teach it to us without too much tribulation then. Otherwise we'll have to seek it for ourselves.
It may be best for you to seek it on your own strength first. But as I said, the decision is in your hands now. Quite literally. Let's return to your friends. I'm sure Greneth is finished by now.